Bridgerton just dropped a trailer that has absolutely no business being this unsettling for a show about pretty people in pretty dresses falling in love in pretty ballrooms. And yet, here we are. Because something is different this time. Something is genuinely, measurably, unmistakably different. And if you watched that trailer and just thought, oh lovely, the costumes look beautiful, and moved on with your day, then I need you to come back and actually look at what was placed in front of you. Because the Bridgerton Season 5 trailer is not doing what Bridgerton trailers do. It is not leading with warmth. It is not leading with romance. It is not opening the door with that familiar rush of color and music and the specific kind of beautiful chaos that made this show one of the most watched things on the planet in the first place. It is leading with something else entirely. It is leading with unease. And that choice, that very specific and very deliberate choice to open on unease rather than delight, is the first signal that this season is operating on a completely different frequency than anything this show has done before. Now let's talk about who this season belongs to, because that matters enormously to understanding why the trailer feels the way it feels. This is Eloise's season, Eloise Bridgerton, the one who has spent multiple seasons standing slightly outside every room she walked into, watching everything with that sharp, almost impatient intelligence. Seeing through every performance and every social ritual and every carefully constructed expectation and being thoroughly unimpressed by all of it. She has been the most interesting person in every room she has ever entered on this show, and the show knew it, and the audience knew it, and we have all been waiting for the moment when it was finally her turn, when all of that resistance and all of that sharpness and all of that refusal to be flattened into something more convenient would finally be placed at the center of the story rather than the edges of it. And now, we are here. And the trailer is making something extremely clear from the very first moment she appears on screen. Eloise has not been softened, she has not been quietly adjusted off screen into something easier to sell as a conventional romantic lead just because the show decided it was finally her turn. That edge is still there. That look in her eyes that tells you she is 3 steps ahead of every conversation and slightly irritated that she even has to be in it. That is all still completely intact. And that matters. It matters more than I think people are fully registering right now, because it would have been so easy to sand that down. So temptingly, so conveniently easy to take everything that made Eloise complicated and file it smooth in the name of making her more palatable for a traditional love story. The show did not do that. The trailer is almost daring you to notice that they did not do that. But here is where it gets interesting. Here is where the trailer stops being just a confirmation that Eloise is still Eloise and starts being something genuinely worth sitting with. Because underneath all of that familiar sharpness, underneath all of that guarded intelligence that we have watched her carry for seasons now, there is something new in her face in this trailer, something that was not there before. And it is not softness, it is not vulnerability in the way this show usually frames vulnerability, which tends to look like tears and grand confessions and walls finally coming down in a beautifully lit scene with the right music underneath it. It is none of that. It is quieter than that, it is more internal than that, and honestly it is more unsettling than that. What it looks like, what it actually looks like when you slow down and pay attention, is conflict. Real conflict. Guys, the kind that does not announce itself, the kind that just sits in your chest heavy and persistent, making everything harder than it has any right to be. Because for the first time in the entire run of this show, Eloise does not look like someone who has the framework figured out. She has always been the character with the philosophy, the one who knew exactly what she thought about the world and exactly why she thought it, and was never once shy about telling everyone around her in exhausting and magnificent detail. But this trailer is showing you something that the show has never shown you before. It is showing you Eloise without the certainty, not broken, not collapsed, but cracked. Cracked in that very specific way that happens when the thing you have believed most confidently about yourself starts to push up against something real, and the two of them cannot quite coexist the way you always assumed they would. And that crack is not coming from where you might expect. It is not coming from family pressure or social scandal or Lady Whistledown deciding to make her the subject of the week. It is coming from something far more dangerous than any of that. It is coming from the possibility that everything she spent years believing, everything she used as armor, everything she held up as conviction, might not have been conviction at all. It might have been fear dressed up so carefully and so consistently in the costume of principle that even she stopped being able to tell the difference. And if that is true, if that is actually what this season is about, then Bridgerton Season 5 is not just a love story, it is a complete dismantling. And the trailer is only showing you the very beginning of the demolition. That is the question the trailer wants you sitting with. That is the question it plants in you and then refuses to answer cleanly, because that is exactly how this show is choosing to operate this season. Not giving you the resolution, not handing you the comfort, just leaving you with the weight of almost knowing something and making you carry it. And the answer, or at least the shape of the answer, starts to become visible when you pay attention to how the trailer introduces the man at the center of all of this. Because the show is very deliberate here, almost suspiciously deliberate. And once you notice how carefully this introduction is constructed, you start to understand that every single choice in this trailer is a choice. Nothing is accidental, nothing is just pretty framing or convenient editing. Every frame is doing work. So here is what the trailer does not do. It does not give you the classic Bridgerton love interest introduction. You know the one. The doors open or the crowd parts or the camera finds him across a room and he is standing in perfect lighting, looking devastatingly handsome. And the music does that specific thing and you immediately understand without anyone having to tell you that this is the person our lead is going to fall for. That introduction, that warm, immediately legible, practically gift-wrapped romantic signal that this show has deployed beautifully and effectively across multiple seasons. It does not do that. Not even close. Instead, it introduces him with friction, with an almost uncomfortable amount of friction, the kind that makes you sit up slightly because it does not feel like the beginning of a romance, it feels like the beginning of a confrontation. These are not two people who meet and immediately feel the pull of something warm and inevitable between them. These are two people who meet and immediately feel the resistance of something sharp and unresolved and not entirely welcome. Like, being in the same room together costs both of them something that neither of them budgeted for. And that framing is everything. That framing is the whole argument the show is making about who Eloise is and what she actually needs and why this specific person is the one the story chose for her. Because think about it. Think about what could actually get through to someone like Eloise Bridgerton. Think about what kind of person could actually create a disruption in the life she has so carefully, so deliberately, so exhaustingly constructed around her own convictions. It was never going to be someone charming. It was never going to be someone smooth who walked in saying exactly the right things in exactly the right order. Eloise has watched that performance play out across every ballroom in London for years, and she has never once been even slightly moved by it. She sees through it the moment it starts. She has always seen through it. So the person who is actually going to matter to her, the person who is actually going to reach past all of that armor and touch something real, was never going to arrive through the front door of charm and flattery. They were always going to have to come in sideways, through argument, through the kind of conversation that does not make you feel good about yourself, but instead makes you feel seen in a way that is almost uncomfortable, through disagreement that is so specific and so precise that it stops feeling like conflict and starts feeling like someone who has actually been paying attention. And the trailer is showing you exactly that dynamic. There is a combativeness between them that feels almost involuntary, like neither of them chose it consciously. It just activates the moment they are near each other. This immediate sharpening of everything. This instinct that kicks in on both sides to push back and question and refuse to simply accept what the other person is presenting at face value. And for Eloise, that dynamic is not just interesting or unexpected, it is genuinely dangerous because she has a practiced response for almost everything. She knows how to handle admiration. She knows how to handle people who want something from her or who are performing at her or who are trying to fit her into a shape she was never made for. She has been deflecting all of that for years, and she is extraordinarily good at it at this point. It is almost automatic. Someone tries to flatter her, and the armor goes up before she has even consciously registered that it is happening. Someone tries to smooth her edges, and she sharpens them deliberately just to make the point. She knows exactly how to manage every kind of attention this world tends to throw at a woman like her. But someone who actually sees her, someone who does not try to smooth the edges or talk carefully around the sharpness or pretend that the difficult parts of her are not there. Someone who instead meets all of it directly and does not flinch and does not retreat and does not try to make her easier to deal with. That is something she has no practiced response for. That is the one kind of attention she never built a defense against because some part of her never fully believed it was coming. And you can see it in the trailer. You can see the exact moment where her usual armor reaches for something to deflect with and comes back empty. Where whatever she normally uses to keep people at a safe and manageable distance does not work the way it is supposed to. And it is not a big moment. It is not dramatic or obvious or underlined with music that tells you this is significant. It is small. It is almost easy to miss if you are not watching for it. But it is there. And it is the most honest and most telling thing in the entire trailer because it shows you precisely where this season is going to live. It is going to live in the space where Eloise's intelligence, the thing she trusts most, the thing she has always used to stay in control of every room and every situation and every version of herself she has ever had to perform, stops being enough to protect her. Because here is the painful and inconvenient truth about falling for someone who thinks the way you do. Someone who argues the way you do. Someone who sees the world with the same uncomfortable clarity and refuses to be managed or flattered or kept politely at arm's length. You cannot think your way out of it. That is the trap. That is the specific cruelty of this particular situation for someone like Eloise. You cannot analyze the feeling into something less threatening. You cannot build a philosophical framework around it that makes it feel safer or more controllable or more consistent with everything you have already decided about yourself and your life and what you are and are not willing to want. It just sits there, real and inconvenient and completely immune to the kind of intellectual control that Eloise has spent her entire life perfecting. And the trailer is not pretending otherwise. It is not softening that reality or dressing it up in enough romance to make it go down easier. It is showing you the friction. It is showing you the discomfort. It is showing you two people being pulled toward each other in a way that neither of them is entirely happy about yet. And it is asking you to sit with that rather than fast forwarding to the part where everything resolves into something warm and certain and safe. But here is what the trailer has not told you yet. Here is what it keeps gesturing toward without ever fully showing. The reason this is not just uncomfortable for Eloise personally, the reason this particular connection in this particular season carries a weight that goes beyond romantic inconvenience or emotional disruption, because the man she is apparently falling for is not simply someone who challenges her intellectually or meets her sharpness with equal sharpness. He is connected to something that exists in the world Eloise has been quietly, dangerously building her entire interior life around. And the moment you understand what that connection actually means, the moment you understand what it actually costs both of them to be in the same orbit, the entire trailer reframes itself. And what it reframes into is not a love story at all. At least, not only that, it is something with far higher stakes than any Bridgerton season has ever dared to carry before. But are they actually prepared for what choosing each other is going to require them to risk? Because that is the question the trailer keeps circling without ever landing on directly. And the fact that it keeps circling it, the fact that it keeps returning to this specific tension between what these two people feel and what the world around them is going to do with those feelings is not accidental. It is the whole architecture of this season being laid out in front of you frame by frame. And to understand why that question carries so much weight, to understand why the stakes of this particular love story feel so different from anything Bridgerton has built before, you have to understand something about the world this season is operating in. not the world of ball gowns and drawing rooms and Lady Whistledown's weekly dispatches, though all of that is still very much present. But the world underneath that, the machinery underneath the beauty, the invisible and relentless social infrastructure that this show has always used as its backdrop, but has never fully forced its characters to reckon with the way this trailer is suggesting it is about to. Bridgerton has always had stakes. Every season has come with its scandal, its threat, its moment where it genuinely seemed like everything might collapse under the weight of what the characters were doing or feeling or refusing to hide. But those stakes, even at their most dramatic, have always carried this underlying cushion of survivability. There has always been this sense, this quiet but persistent reassurance built into the fabric of the show that the Bridgerton family is protected by